Fields where food is abundant, they wear paths through sheltering thickets and over prostrate trees to some favorite pool where in hot and dry weather they drink it nearly the same hour every day. These pools are said to be narrowly walked, especially by the boys, who lie in ambush with bow and arrow and kill without noise. But in spite of enemies, squirrels are happy fellows, forest favorites, tides of tireless life. Of all nature's wild beasts, they seem to be the wildest. May we come to know each other better. The chaparral cover hill slope to the south of the camp, besides furnishing nesting places for countless merry birds, is the home and hiding place of the curious wood rat. Mutuma, handsome, interesting animal, always attracting attention wherever seen. It is more like a squirrel than a rat, is much larger, has delicate, thick, soft fur of a bluish slate color, white on the belly, ears large, thin, and translucent, eyes soft, full, and liquid, close slender, sharp as needles, and as his limbs are strong, he can climb about as well as a squirrel. No rat or squirrel has so innocent a look, is so easily approached, or expresses such confidence in one's good intentions. He seems to find for the thorny thickets he inhabits, and his hut also is as unlike himself as may be, though softly furnished inside. No other animal inhabitant of these mountains built houses so large and striking in appearance. The traveler coming suddenly upon a group of them for the first time will not be likely to forget them. They are built of all kinds of stakes, old rotten pieces picked up anywhere, and green prickly twigs bitten from the nearest bushes. The whole mixed with miscellaneous odds and ends of everything movable, such as bits of claw the earth, stones, bones, deer horn, etc., piled up in a conical mass as if it were got ready for burning. Some of these curious cabins are 6 feet high and as wide at the base, and a dozen or more of them are occasionally grouped together, less perhaps for the sake of society than for advantages of food and shelter. Coming through the dense shady thickets of some lonely hillside, the solitary explorer happening into one of these strange villages is startled at the sight, and may fancy himself in an Indian settlement, and begin to wonder what kind of reception he is likely to get. But no savage face will he see, perhaps not a single inhabitant, or at most 2 or 3 seated on top of their wigwams, looking at the stranger with the mildest of wild eyes, and awing in near approach, in the center of the rough smut. Chewed to toe, and lined with feathers and the down of various seeds, such as willow and milkweed. The delicate creature in its prickly, thick wall homes of just some tender flower and a thorny involucre. Some of the nests are built in trees 30 or 40 feet from the ground, and even in garrets, as if seeking the company and protection of man, like swallows and linnets, though accustomed to the wildest solitude. Among housekeepers, Butler has the reputation of a thief, because he carries away everything transportable to his queer hut. Knives, forks, combs, nails, tin cobs, spectacles, etc. Merely, however, to strengthen his fortifications. I guess his food at home, as far as I have learned, is nearly the same as that of the squirrel. Nuts, berries, seeds, and sometimes the bark and tender shoots of the various species of Xenophus. July 2. Warm, sunny day. Thrilling plant and animals and rocks alike, making sap and blood flow fast, and making every particle of the crystal mountains throb and swirl and dance in glad accord like stardust. No dullness anywhere visible or thinkable. No stagnation. No death. Every Everything kept in joyful rhythmic motion in the pulses of nature's big heart. Procumulate over the higher mountains clouds, not with a silver lining, but all silver, the brightest, crispest, rockiest looking clouds, most varied in features and keenest in outline I ever saw at any time of year in any country. The daily building and unbuilding of these snowy cloud ranges the highest Sierra is a prime marvel to me, and I gaze at the stupendous white domes, miles high, with ever-fresh admiration. But in the midst of these sky and mountain affairs, a change of diet is pulling us down. We have been out of bread a few days, and begin to miss it more than seems reasonable, for we have plenty of meat and sugar and tea. Strange we should feel food poor in so rich a wilderness. The Indians quest to shade, so do the squirrel. Starchy roots and seasoned bark in abundance. Yet the failure of the meal sack disturbs our bodily balance, and friends our best enjoyments. July 3, warm, reach just enough to sift through the woods and waft fragrance from their thousand fountains. The pine and fir cones are growing well, resin and balsam dripping from every tree, and seeds are ripening fast, promising a fine harvest. The squirrels will have bread. They eat all kinds of nuts long before they are ripe, and yet never seem to suffer in stomach. Thank you for joining me at Yosemite for this reading of the audiobook. My First Summer in the Sierra by John Muir. Chapter 3. A Bread Famine. July 4. The air beyond the Flock Range, full of the essences of the woods, is growing sweeter and more fragrant from day to day, like ripening fruit. Mr. Delaney is expected to arrive soon from the lowlands with a new stock of provisions, and as the flock is to be moved to fresh pastures, we shall all be well fed. In the meantime, our stock of beans as well as flour has filled everything but mutton, sugar, and tea. The shepherd is somewhat demoralized, and seems to care but little what becomes of his flock. He says that since the boss has failed to feed him, he is not rightly bound to feed the sheep, and swears that no decent white man can climb these steep mountains on mutton alone. It's not fitting grub for a white man, really white. For dogs and coyotes and Indians, it's different. Good grub, good sheep. That's what I say. July oration. July 5! The clouds of noon on the high Sierra seem yet more marvelously, indescribably beautiful from day to day as one becomes more wakeful to see them. The smoke of the gunpowder burned yesterday on the lowlands, and the eloquence of the orators has probably settled or been blown away by this time. Here every day is a holiday, a jubilee ever sounding with serene enthusiasm, without wear or waste or claying weariness. Everything rejoicing. Not a single cell or crystal unvisited or forgot. July 6th. Mr. Delaney has not arrived, and the bread famine is sore. We must eat mutton a while longer, though it seems hard to get accustomed to it. I have heard of Texas pioneers living without bread or anything made from the cereals for months without suffering, using the breast meat of wild turkeys for bread. Of this kind they had plenty in the good old days when life, though considered less safe, was fussed over the less. The trappers and fur traders of our early days in the Rocky Mountain regions lived on bison and beaver meat for months. 7 years. 2. There are among both Indians and whites who seem to suffer little or not at all from the want of bread. Just at this moment mutton seems the least desirable of food, though of good quality. We pick out the leanest bits, and down they go against heavy disgust, causing nausea and an effort to reject the offensive stuff. Tea makes matters worse, if possible. The stomach begins to assert itself as an independent creature with a will of its own. We should boil lupine leaves, clover, starchy pistols, and saffron root sauce like the Indians. We try to ignore our gastric troubles, rise and gaze about us, turn our eyes to the mountains, and climb doggedly up through brush and rocks into the heart of the scenery. A stifled calm comes on, and the day's duties and even enjoyments are languidly got through with. We chew a few leaves and us by way of luncheon, and smell or chew the spicy monocle of the dull hay stomach that now lightens. Now comes muffling down upon us and into a sight fog. At night more mutton, flesh to flesh, down with it, not too much. And there are the stars shining through the cedar plumes and branches above our beds. July 7th. Rather weak and sickish this morning, and all about a piece of bread. Can scarce command attention to my best studies, as if one couldn't take a few days saunter in the godful woods without maintaining a base on a wheat field and grist smoke. Like caged parrots with one cracker, any of 100 kinds the remainder bestowed of a void around the world would answer well enough, nor would the wholesomeness of sourdough biscuit be questioned. Bread without flesh is a good diet, as on many botanical excursions I have proved. Tea also may easily be ignored. Just bread and water and delightful toil is all I need. Not unreasonably much. Yet one ought to be trained and tempered to enjoy life in these brave wilds in full independence of any particular kind of nourishment. That this may be accomplished is manifest, as far as bodily welfare is concerned, in the lives of people about their clients. The Eskimo, for example, gets a living far north of the wheat line, from oily seals and whales. Meat, berries, bitter weeds, and blubber were only the last, for months at a time. And yet these people all around the frozen shores of our continent are said to be hardy, jolly, stout, and brave. We here, too, of fish eaters, carnivorous aspires, yet well enough as far as stomachs are concerned, while we are so ridiculously helpless, making wry faces over our fare, looking sheepish in digestive distress amid grumbling sounds that might well pass for smothered maws. We have a large supply of sugar, and this evening it occurred to me that these belligerent stomachs might possibly, like complaining children, be coaxed with candy. Accordingly, the frying pan was cleansed, and a lot of sugar cooked it into a sort of wax. But the stuff only made matters worse. Man seems to be the only animal whose food soils him, making necessary much washing and shield like this and napkins. Moles living in the earth and eating slimy worms are yet as clean as seals or fishes, whose lives are one perpetual watch. And, as we have seen, the squirrels in these resiny woods keep themselves clean in some mysterious way. Not a hair is sticky, though they handle the gummy codes, and glide apparently without care. The bird are clean, though they seem to make a good deal of us washing and cleaning their feathers. Certain flies and ants I see are in a fix, entangled and sealed up in the sugar wax we threw away, like some of their ancestors' hammer. Our stomachs, like tired muscles, are sore with long squirming. Once I was very hungry in the Bonaventure graveyard near Savannah, Georgia, having fasted for several days. Then the empty stomach seemed to chafe in much the same way as now, and a somewhat similar tenderness and aching was produced, hard to bear, though the pain was not acute. We dream of bread, a sure sign we need it. Like the Indians, we ought to know how to get the starch out of fern and saxifrage stalks, lily bulbs, pine bark, etc. Our education has been sadly neglected for many generations. Wild rice would be good. I noticed a lychee and wet meadow edges, but the seeds are small. Acorns are not ripe, nor pine nuts, nor filberts. The inner bark of pine or spruce might be tried. Drank tea till half intoxicated. Man seems to crave a stimulant when anything extraordinary is going on, and this is the only one I use. Billy chews great quantities of tobacco, which I suppose helps to stupefy and moderate his misery. We look and listen for the dawn every hour. How beautiful upon the mountains if a feet would be in the warm, hospitable Sierra. Shepherds and mountain men in general, as far as I have seen, are easily satisfied as to food supplies and bedding. Most of them are heartily content to rough it, ignoring nature's finest as bothersome or unmanly. The shepherd's bed is often only the bare ground and a pair of blankets, with a stove, a piece of wood, or a pack saddle for a pillow. In choosing the spot, he shows less care than the dogs, for they usually deliberate before making up their minds in so important an affair, going from place to place, scraping away loose sticks and pebbles, and trying for comfort by making many changes, while the shepherd casts himself down anywhere, seemingly the least skilled of all rest seekers. His food, too, even when he is all he wants, is usually far from delicate, neither in kind or cooking. Beans, bread of any sort, bacon, mutton, dried peaches, and sometimes potatoes and onions make up his bill of fare. The two latter articles being regarded as luxuries on account of their weight as compared with the nourishment they contain. A half sack or so of each may be put into the pack and setting out from the home ranch, and in a few days they are done. Beans are the main standby, portable, wholesome, and capable of going far, besides being easily cooked. Although curiously enough, a great deal of mystery is supposed to lie about the bean pot. No two cooks quite agree on the methods of making beans do their best. And after petting and coaxing and nursing the savory mess, well-oiled and mellowed with bacon boiled into the heart of it, the proud cook will ask, after dishing out a quart or two for trial, "Well, how do you like my beans?" As if by no possibility could they be like any other beans cooked in the same way, but must needs possess some special virtue of which he alone is master. Molasses, sugar, or pepper may be used to give desired flavors, or the first water may be poured off a spoonful or two of ashes or soda added to dissolve or soften the skins more fully, according to various tastes and notions. But, like casks of wine, no two popples are exactly alike to every palate. Some are supposed to be spoiled by the moon, by some unlucky day, by the beans having been grown on soil not suitable, or the whole year may be to blame as not favorable for beans. Coffee, too, has its marvels in the camp kitchen, but not so many, and not so inscrutable as those that beset the bean pot. A low, complacent follows a mouthful drawn in with a gurgle, and the remark cast forth aimlessly, "That's good coffee," then another gurgling sip and repetition of the judgment, "Yes, sir, that is good coffee." As to tea, weak and strong. The stronger the better. The only remark heard is, that tea's weak. Otherwise it is good enough and not worth mentioning. If it has been boiled an hour or two or smoked on a pitchy fire, no matter. Who cares for a little tan or creosote? They make the black beverage all the stronger and more attractive to tobacco tan palates. Cheap camp bread, like most California camp bread, is baked in Dutch ovens. Some of it in the form of yeast powder biscuit, and an unwholesome sticky compound leading straight to dyspepsia. The greater part, however, is fermented with sourdough. A handful from each batch being saved and put away in the mouth of the flour sack to inoculate the next. The oven is simply a cast iron pot, about 5 inches deep and from 12 to 18 inches wide. After the batch has been mixed and kneaded in a tin pan, the oven is slightly heated and rubbed with a piece of tallow or pork rind. The dough is then placed in it, pressed out against the sides, and left to rise. When ready for baking, a shovelful of coals is spread out by the side of the fire and the oven set upon them, while another shovelful is placed on top of the lid, which is raised from time to time to see that the requisite amount of heat is being kept up. Very good bread may be made in this way, though it is liable to be burnt or to be sour, or raised too much, and the weight of the oven is a serious objection. At last on Delaney comes June, the Lang Glen hunger vanishes. We turn our eyes to the mountains, and tomorrow we go climbing toward Cloudland. Never while anything is left of me shall this first camp be forgotten. It has fairly grown into me, not merely as memory pictures, but as part and parcel of mind and body alike. The deep harbor like hollow, with its majestic trees through which all the wonderful nights the stars pour their beauty. The flowery wildness of the high steep slope toward Brown's Flat, and its blue fragrance descending at the close of the still days. The embored river reaches with their multitude of voices making melody. The stately flow and rush and glad exulting on seeping currents caressing the dipping sedge leaves and bushes and mossy stones. Swirling in pools, dividing against little flowery islands, breaking gray and white here and there, ever rejoicing, yet with deep solemn undertones recalling the ocean of brave little bird ever beside them, singing with sweet human tones among the waltzing foam boughs, and like a blessed evangelist blaming God's love. At the Pilot Peak Ridge, its long withdrawn slope gracefully modeled and braided, reaching from climate to climate, feathered with trees that are the kings of their race, their ranks nobly marshaled with you, spire above spire, crown above crown, waving their long, leafy arms, tossing their cones like ringing bells, blessed sun-fed mountaineers rejoicing in their strength, every tree twofold, the harp from the wind and the sun, the hazel and buckthorn pastures of the deer, the sun-beaten brows purple and yellow with men and golden rods, carpeted with chamoebatia, humming with bees, and the dawns and sunrises and sundowns of these mountain days, the rose light creeping higher among the stars, changing to daffodil yellow, the level beams bursting forth, streaming across the ridges, touching pine after pine, waking and warming all the mighty host to do gladly their shining day's work. The great sun gold noons, the alabaster-clad mountains, the landscape beaming with consciousness like the face of a god. The sunsets, when the trees stood hushed. Their good-night blessings, divine, enduring, unwastful, while You are listening to my first summer in the Sierra by John Muir. And now chapter 4, to the high mountains, Julying. Now away we go toward the topmost mountains. Many still, small voices, as well as the noon thunder, are calling, come higher. Farewell, blissed out, woods, gardens, streams, birds, squirrels, lizards, and 1,000 others. Farewell, farewell. Up through the woods the hoof locusts streamed beneath a cloud of ground dust. Scarcely were they driven 100 yards from the old corral ere they seemed to know that at last they were going to new pastures, and rushed wildly ahead, crowding through gathered brush, jumping, calling like exulting hurried flood waters escaping through a broken dam. A man on each flank kept shouting advice to the leaders, who in their famishing condition were behaving like gathering swine. Two other drivers were busy with stragglers, helping them out of brush tangles. The Indian, calm, alert, silently watched for wanderers likely to be overlooked. The two dogs ran here and there, at a loss to know what was best to be done, while the dog, soon far in the rear, was trying to keep in sight his troublesome whelp. As soon as the boundary of the old Eden outrage was past, the hungry horde suddenly became calm, like a mountain stream in a meadow. Thenceforward they were allowed to eat their way as slowly as they wished, care being taken only to keep them headed toward the summit of the Merston Twalm Divide. Soon the 2,000 flattened plunges were bulged out with sweet pea vines and grass, and the gaunt, desperate creatures, more like wolves than sheep, became land ingovernable, while the howling drivers changed to gentle shepherds. As sauntered in peace toward sundown, we reach Hazel Green, a charming spot on the summit of the dividing ridge between the bases of the Merston and Tualu, where there is a small brook flowing through hazel and dogwood thickets beneath magnificent silver firs and pines. Here, we are camped for the night. Our big fire, heaped high with rosiny logs and branches, is blazing like a sunrise, gladly giving back the light slowly sifted from the sunbeams of centuries of summers. And in the glow of the old sunlight, how impressively surrounding objects are brought forward in relief against the outer darkness. Grasses, larkspurs, columbines, lilies, hazel bushes, and the great trees form a circle around the fire like thoughtful spectators, gazing and listening with human-like enthusiasm. The night breeze is cool. For all day we have been climbing into the upper sky, the home of the cloud mountains we so long have admired. How sweet and keen the air, every breath a blessing. Here the sugar pine reaches its fullest development in size and beauty and number of individuals, filling every swell. Down-plunging ravine almost to the exclusion of other species. A few yellow pines are still to be found as companions, and in the coolest places silver firs. But noble as these are, the sugar pine is king, and spreads long protecting arms above them while they rock and wave in sign of recognition. We have now reached a height of 6,000 feet, In the forenoon, we pass along the flat part of the dividing ridge that is planted with manzanita, arbustifulos, some specimens the largest I have seen. I measured one, the bowl of which is 4 feet in diameter and only 18 inches high from the ground, where it dissolves into many wide spreading branches forming a broad round head about 10 or 12 feet high, covered with clusters of small narrow-throated pink boughs. The leaves are pale green, glandular, and set on edge by a twist of the pistil. The branches seem naked, for the chocolate-colored bark is very smooth and thin. A shed off and flakes that curl when dry. The wood is red, close-grained, hard, and heavy. I wonder how old these curious tree bushes are. Probably as old as the great pines. Indians and bears and birds and fat grubs feast on the berries, which look like small apples, often rosy on one side, green on the other. The Indians are said to make a kind of beer or cider out of them. There are many species. This one, Arbustifulos pumpkins, is common hereabouts. No need have they to fear the wind. So low they are and steadfastly rooted, even the fires that sweep the woods seldom destroy them utterly, for they rise again from the roots, and some of the dry ridges they grow on are seldom touched by fire. I must try to know them better. I miss my river songs tonight. Here Hazel Creek at its topmost springs has a voice like a bird. The wind tones of the great trees overhead are strangely impressive. All the more because not a leaf stirs below them. But it grows late, and I must to bed. The camp is silent. Everybody asleep. It seems extravagant to spend hours so precious in sleep. He giveth his beloved sleep. Pity the poor beloved needs it. Weak, weary, verspent. Oh, the pity of it.